The only way is the right way, I might say. Nobody doing it better, y'all some lightweights. Malik Wright, up all day and all night, pushing all the buttons up to something till it's alright. He looking at it from all sides and angles, got a stripes on his body like he played for the Bengals. Oh man, there's no one discussing it. They came, they stayed, they either did it or done it. Man, I love it, cause all they ever do is win. So kick back, relax, the team.
Thank you guys for joining us for another recap show of a Bengals game, the Sit Down with Malik Wright, presented by my company, the Right Way Sports Network. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've joined you guys. It's been a while since I've talked with you guys. It's been a while since we've dived deep into the discussion, but here we are. Hope that everybody had a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays. We've been kind of MIA for the last, what'd you say, Jimmy? 2 weeks. 2 weeks, took a little bit of a break, take a little bit of a hiatus, let the team recharge their batteries because we'll be headed to New Orleans for the Super Bowl, combine, and so much more. You know, our season doesn't stop, so had to get in a little bit of a vacation when we could, but we're back. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in, as you guys always do each and every single time we go live. Make sure you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on the post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live, when we upload content from the TWSN studios. I'm supposed to be joined by Zim Hude today, and we're going to be talking everything through. The reason why we didn't go live yesterday is because we wanted to see the fallout from today's games to see how they affected the Bengals moving forward. Now, as most of you already know, the Bengals did what they needed to do. They took care of business. They beat the Denver Broncos, albeit it was a game, right? Jimmy was there in person. He got a chance to watch the game. Bengals beat the Broncos. Took about 5 quarters to do so, but they did so after a missed field goal after Joe Burrow won you the game, and then the defense shrunk up a little bit or whatever the case may be. I still don't think that was a touchdown from Marvin Mims. In my heart, in my core, I don't believe that was a touchdown from Marvin Mims. The ball was moving. It was against everything that they say is a touchdown, right? It seems like they change their stripes, no pun intended there, depending on, the game, depending on the outcome, the whole 9 yards. But the Bengals defeated the odds, and the Bengals went out there and they beat the Denver Broncos. The thing that was kind of interesting to me, Jimmy, was the 500 record that evaded them all season. They finally got to the stigma that they hadn't beaten a team with a winning record, right? They were able to overcome that. I want to make sure that I'm very clear with what I'm about to say. And I'm sure when Zim gets here, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk it all through. But I want to make sure I'm really, really clear when I say this. Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the National Football League. Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the National Football League. And Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in the National Football League. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are the best duo in the National Football League. So let me tell you this. I see there are a lot of people out there with certain companies next to their name, and it's certain companies to start their name, and they're your analytical gurus. Let me be the first to say it, though. And the reason why I feel I need to say that is because I am the closest thing to a fan, but also I'm new media. I'm in sports media. My friends around the National Football League call me the Cincinnati guy. So here's what I'll say. I don't think it's really close that Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the National Football League. And I got a lot of heat, a lot of flack for saying that years ago. I said, hey, in my opinion, what was going to separate Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes was going to be the IQ test. That's not to say Patrick Mahomes isn't a smart player. That's not to say that. That's simply to say that Joe Burrow, his mental processing, his pre-snap, post-snap processing has to be elite because he doesn't have the same gifted talents that a Lamar Jackson, that a Josh Allen that a Patrick Mahomes has. So he has to pride himself on being the best. And Jordan Smith, make no mistake about it, too. I see your comment in the comment section. If you know me, man, even though this is a Bengals themed show, I appreciate everybody from all walks of the NFL. We're all family in some degree. He says, Burrow is great, but Mahomes does more with less. He says, Chiefs hold your playoff destinies in their hands. And let me to be honest with you, that's okay. To be honest with you, the Bengal fan in me is, you want to see the team win, but this isn't about that. This isn't about that for me. The Bengals make the playoffs, cool. If they don't, it is what it is. You put yourself in that position. It sucks to suck, right? If you sucked early on in the season and you shot yourself in the foot, you deserve whatever outcome it is. If the playoffs are the Bengals outcome, then cool. They did a great job rallying. But make no mistake about it, I'm not one of those people that are also, going to think the Bengals are inept of criticism. I'm not one of those people that are going to sit up here and tell you that just because they rattled off a couple wins here, that they should be in the playoffs. Not one of those people. But what I can tell you is Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the National Football League. What I can tell you is Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in the National Football League. And all of this is in spite of interesting situational coaching. I won't say poor coaching. I'll say interesting situational coaching. That this team is doing what they're doing, right? Joe Burrow's doing what he's doing with with terrible guard play. He was sacked 7 times yesterday. Still made it happen. Still put the team on his back. Albeit T. Higgins did a great job too. This is about the pieces, the key pieces that the Bengals have. That's what this is about for me. And I just want to be the person, because I logged on to Twitter this morning and I thought the entire NFL world would come together and everybody would say, Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the National Football League. I believe that in my heart. But you know what I saw? So someone say, Joe Burrow is good. He's top 5. But Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes are otherworldly. Whoa. What are we talking about here now? And that's my biggest gripe here. I want to make sure we give the guy his flowers. The MVP trophy has become about the record more so than the impact. And when I look up, when I look at, the MVP trophy and most valuable player, it's the person who is the most valuable to their team. It's the person who uplifts their team despite, hear me out, that word is extremely crucial here, despite the issues that may face the team. To me, he's not going to get the award, but Joe Burrow is definitely my MVP, in my honest opinion. He is that. I don't think you could have asked him to do more. I wouldn't ask him to do more. I look at it and I say, what Joe Burrow has been able to accomplish in a 5-year career, with everything surrounding, with the ownership that is slow to change, with people that are slow to adapt. If anything, this should make this organization want to do more for that guy. That's what this should do. This should make the organization be all in if they weren't. This should change their wholesale approach to the interior of the offensive line and how much it's going to cost to fix the interior of the offensive line. Aren't you tired of seeing your quarterback get hit over and over and over and over again? Aren't you tired of seeing Joe Burrow make that amazing play, but doing it on his backside? Aren't you tired of that? So to me, there's a lot that goes into it. I don't give a damn if Joe Burrow wins MVP or not. Let me be very clear. I don't care if Joe Burrow wins MVP or not. I just want Bengals fans. This is about me talking to y'all right now. to appreciate, what you already do, what you have in Cincinnati. Because other places would love to have that quarterback play in Cincinnati. Regardless of what this offseason might look like, you have your quarterback in place. You have your star receiver in place. And it's the first time where I could say, guess what? The quarterback position, undoubtedly, the best quarterback resides in Cincinnati. The wide receiver position, the best wide receiver undoubtedly resides in Cincinnati. Now, it's going to be what you do with the roster to help moving forward. Are you going to re-sign a T. Higgins? Are you going to look to add new defensive pieces that could help this team? Right? Because the narrative is, if the defense was even borderline, the defense a little average, this team could be so much further. And I tend to agree with that. But I just think that what you have seen this year, for the Bengals organization, this should cause you to want to be all in. This should be an offseason in which you approach it, that you should leave no stone unturned. Just try everything in your power to make sure you're putting together a championship roster, not just for the next season, but for future seasons. That's my thought process. I was very honest, I would say, in my approach for this team, headed down the stretch here. I said it was important to me to see if this team still fought. If this team still fought for Zach Taylor, guess what that told me? He didn't lose the locker room. If this team still wanted to go out there and put their best foot forward, because it would have been easy to pack it in, right? A couple weeks ago, we're looking at the team with just 4 wins. It would have been easy to pack it in. But they still went out there and fight. Now, listen, the season has not panned out the way anyone expected it to. For me, I told everybody a couple weeks ago, I said, hey, I'm in evaluation mode. I'm looking at every player. I'm looking at every coach. I'm looking at the situation moving forward. And one thing I'm asking myself is, if you're looking at the coaches, can we get this ship corrected with said coach? Do we view this player as a potential building block? Everybody should be on the same criteria, except for Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, guys like that. You should be asking yourself that question. Does this guy make us better? Do we think that do we think we can get more out of them? And that's how I am viewing the rest of the season. It's not about playoffs for me. It's not about awards, right? It's about figuring out who are your pieces for the future. That's what this is about for me. So I'm in evaluation mode fully. We could talk about the wins all we want. We could talk about, the Bengals have 5% chance to make the playoffs if this happens. And I don't give a damn about any of that. I deal in reality. Let's talk about some players that have made an impact on us, or players that have not. That's what I'd like to know in the comment section right now. Do us a favor. It's been a while. And by the way, Daniel's not here right now, guys. Daniel is in California, so we hope that he's having a good time. Drop the players in the comment section that you guys want me to comment on, and I'll give you guys my assessment of them, where I see them, right? How I think they perform this season, and where I think their future is, whether that be in Cincinnati and the league, the whole 9 yards. So drop that down in the comment section for me. But I definitely want to get to some of these guys, whether it could be veteran players, could be younger players. Zim is going to be coming in here shortly, but I want you guys to drop, your questions, your comments down in the comment section. I want to get to some of these players that people are asking about. Okay, let's talk about it. Someone said Joseph Ossai. Dre said Joseph Ossai. I think Joseph Ossai showed a lot of promise. I think that Joseph Ossai is going to have a hard time garnering the contract that he might hope he could have gotten had he had a couple more productive years in Cincinnati. Because any type of contract Joseph Ossai would hope to break the bank with would be strictly based on potential. So it would be highly incentive based. It'd be highly incentivized, and you would want to see the sack production. You would want to see all that sort of stuff go up. I could see a Joseph Ossai returning to Cincinnati on a year deal. And I could see Cincinnati being interested in bringing Joseph Ossai back on a year deal. I think that what you saw from Joseph Ossai down the stretch, especially from the interior, might have opened things up for him. That's my thought process. I think Joseph Ossai has more there. How much more? I have no idea. How much more does Joseph Ossai have? I have no idea. I can't answer that. But I think he does have more. I believe in my heart he does have more. I think Joseph Ossai coming back to Cincinnati on a one-year deal makes a lot of sense for both parties. I think it does. I want to keep it going, though. Somebody says Cedric Johnson. Cedric Johnson's a guy that I remember when the Bengals drafted him. Me and Daniel did a deep dive on him, just one-on-one. We didn't put it out anywhere. We just did a deep dive, and we just talked about what his potential could be. He's a guy that has flashed a lot. He showed a lot of juice in the pass department. The one thing that stood out on film for me when I was watching Cedric Johnson's film in college, but also seeing it translate to the NFL, especially in preseason, was his motor. His motor is high. The Bengals need more high motor, high effort, energy guys. That is what they need. That is an absolute fact. They need to make sure that they do everything in their power to get more guys that have the ability to rush the passer, get more hands on the quarterback. And I think that can go a long way. So for me, I think Cedric Johnson is a guy that has flashed. I'd like to see him play a little bit more, and then I'd have a better understanding, a better grasp, I would say, on what his future could potentially be. I'm going to get to some more people. Somebody said Geno Stone. Woo! That's a loaded one. Geno Stone flashed against bad teams. My thing is, when Geno Stone is decisive, he's good. When Geno Stone hesitates, he's bad. He's slow. Although he's athletic, he lacks the athleticism to make the necessary big plays that you would want your chief and commander at the free safety position to make. For me, I think a Malachi Starks or somebody like that has the ability to provide that pressure on a quarterback that, I think that those type of guys make a little bit more sense. I feel like Geno Stone gets himself in trouble when he, finds himself peeking back at the quarterback, or he's a little slow to react. And respectfully, you can outthrow his coverage. You can outthrow his coverage, especially if he's not decisive. What we saw outside of this last few weeks, was a more decisive Geno Stone. I think Geno Stone, you can get better, personally. I think you can get better than Geno Stone. I'm still an advocate saying I would love to see Javon Holland here in Cincinnati, but I just think that what you saw from Geno Stone down the last few weeks will probably make the Bengals feel like they got their bang for their buck, and they'll probably feel like, hey, maybe we need to just keep, maybe we should just give him another opportunity to keep this thing going. That's just my thought process. I think that the Bengals are finding out the hard way. It's not hard. It's not easy to replace a Jesse Bates. Somebody said Jermaine Burton. So I think the production, I think the boom you're expecting to see from Jermaine Burton is going to be much more likely in year 2 versus year 1. I definitely think you're seeing a more dialed in player, a player that understands that what it means to be a pro. You see, he's gaining the trust of Darren Simmons, of this coaching staff, which is why he's getting the opportunity to have kick returns. He's flashing the kick return game, but this is all a setup to get him in the right spot so he can start making plays on the football field with Joe Burrow and this offense, because Jermaine Burton has so much potential there. But you got to start somewhere. You know what I mean? I think that when you look at it, we all probably had a lot of high expectations for Jermaine. I certainly did. Obviously, being an Alabama Crimson Tide guy, I really expected Jermaine Burton to really boom this season, when obviously some off the field stuff kind of hindered that. It was a slow build back to get the respect, the trust of this coaching staff and all that stuff back in order. But I think that Jermaine Burton is a guy that is going to make a lot of plays for this team over time, in my honest opinion. So somebody said Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki should be back here in Cincinnati on a year or 2-year deal. That's what I believe. I don't think Mike Gesicki has any what happens when Mike Gesicki has any hindrance on Eric All, because they play different positions. If you ask me, Mike Gesicki is the best receiving tight end. I have to say receiving tight end because everybody says, well, he can't block. Mike Gesicki, in my opinion, is the best receiving tight end Joe Burrow has had. He's the best receiving tight end the Bengals have had since Tyler Eifert. To me, Mike Gesicki is a guy that makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. I'd like to think Joe Burrow would want that guy back. I believe this is the second best or third best receiving yardage career receiving yardage stats wise in Mike Gesicki's career. And I sort of expected, obviously, you match those two up. You match Joe Burrow up with Mike Gesicki up with Joe Burrow. You expect to see fireworks. And I also think that the threat of Mike Gesicki is something that really helps Jamar Chase, that also helps T. Higgins. But I also think that those guys, the threat of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, also help Mike Gesicki. So, you saw what this offense was able to do with the Mike Gesicki in the fold. Why not bring that guy back? It makes all the sense in the world. I don't want to be super annoying about the whole Mike Gesicki thing. You guys know how I feel about Mike Gesicki. You guys know how I feel, and you guys know why I want him back. Somebody said Jordan Battle. Landon Van Steen said Jordan Battle. I think Jordan Battle is going to be the engine to this defense moving forward. I like the fact that he is a decisive safety. I didn't like the fact that him and Geno Stone both got split for a post route, or what it might even not even have been a post route. I think it was a deep shot. They both got split for, and it was a little bit of miscommunication. I felt like it was Geno Stone's play to make, honestly, being the free safety and being the guy that has the free reign to roam. I would have liked to see, I didn't like to see, that happen, but I think Jordan Battle has been stout in the running game. I think Jordan Battle has been hard-nosed hitting. He's been what this defense has been missing. He sets a tone out there. He's violent. I like that, man. I like that. I think that I think Jordan Battle makes a lot of sense for this team. He's going to be exactly what he was at Alabama, in my honest opinion. He was the heart and soul of the defense, and I think that Jordan Battle is going to be that. I think Jordan Battle, when his contract comes up, when it's time for him to get paid, he's going to get paid, whether it's by Cincinnati or somewhere else. But you cannot understate his value to this defense and why the defense has started to look a little bit better. It's because Jordan Battle's in the fold. Jordan Battle's younger, he's rangier, he's more athletic than a guy like Von Bell, and I think that his potential is definitely there. Somebody said Fig Newton. I like Fig Newton. I like Josh. I think Josh has looked really, really good in spots. It's going to be growing pains. A little tough, right? It's a little tough to see what a guy is going to look like as a rookie versus what he's going to look like down the, second year 2, year 3. I just would say continue to do what he's doing. Don't get into the hype. Don't believe your own hype. You got to keep approaching like a pro each and every single day. And I think that as long as he does that, and as long as he's consistent with that, I think we're going to see a lot of big potential from him. Somebody said Marco Wilson. Marco Wilson is a guy that, I don't know. He's a guy that I feel like a lot of people kind of wrote off. It seemed like the mental hurdle was there for him, and it was very real. But seeing the potential that he has shown with his athleticism, that's something that everyone said about Marco Wilson. He tested like a freak. He was very athletic, tested off the charts. He's a guy that makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. I think Marco Wilson could find himself back here in Cincinnati, especially seeing as he's still under contract, I believe, because the Bengals claimed him. So I could see him definitely. I could definitely see him being back here in Cincinnati and definitely providing depth. Somebody said cut Kappa. I don't know if Kappa's going to be here next year. I don't know if Cordell Volson is going to be here next year. If anything, those guys be here for depth. The guard position needs to be remade in my honest opinion. I think Cordell Volson, I saw somebody ask about him. I think Cordell Volson has shown has shown flashes, but he just has not been able to put it all together consistently, which is what led to his benching. One thing's for sure, Cody Ford is not the answer at guard, nor should he be. If you want to have him there as depth, if you consider him depth, sure, have him there for his depth. But Cody Ford should not be on your starting offensive line. And I just think that the fact that they're turning to Cody Ford at guard speaks to how they view Cordell Volson. The performance that he had. The writing's on the wall there. Somebody said McKinley Jackson, Chris Jenkins. Love this question. McKinley Jackson. And Jimmy, do we have Zim in the back? Okay. Cool. McKinley Jackson and Chris Jenkins are guys that I believe in their potential. I believe in their future. I believe that it makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. I'd like to see those. I'd like to see more of those guys. Let's bring Zim in here if we can. But I wanted to touch on McKinley Jackson and Chris Jenkins as well. The reason why I really like those guys because they provide everything that you're looking for. Jen, we could bring him in here. They're everything that you look for out of your young defensive tackles. Now, understand something. It's going to be a lot of growing pains, but I think McKinley Jackson has really boomed the last couple of weeks on film. His ability to clog up those running lanes. And him and Chris Jenkins seem to be just working together. I'll be honest with you. Those two are going to probably be the reason why the Bengals don't bring back a BJ Hill. And that is what you hope to see. That is what you hope to look for. Those two could be your BJ Hill, Larry Okunjobis of the future, right? I mean, they could be what you're looking for. But, for me, I'd still like to see them add a veteran. I like BJ Hill. He's made a lot of plays for us the last couple of years, but you got to ask yourself the question for the money that he's going to command, the money he's going to ask for, right? Because is he going to ask for a pay cut versus what he was making? Can you allocate those resources to a different part of the defense? And for me, it's yes, because I think you can get better than BJ Hill on the interior of the defense line, especially in a rotation piece. But McKinley Jackson, Chris Jenkins should be slotted in as your starters for next year, in my honest opinion. Zim, what's going on, brother?
Rocking out here in the free world, just enjoying what it's just having fun, man. I'm having fun. The Bengals, had a really good win, and I don't know. I just enjoy like the competition of sports, and there's a little bit of hope. I know that they might not make to the playoffs, but I'll be damned if it ain't fun like rooting against team. I don't know. I wish it was another way. I wish we controlled our own destiny, but I'm still having fun though.
And that's the biggest thing, right? The Bengals, think about a couple weeks ago, they were 4-8 or 4 and whatever they were, and it was all doom and gloom. And don't make no mistake about it, because I know you still have those people out there that are like, you guys got to keep being consistent. If the team is doing bad, somebody still has to answer for this. For this season being what it is. Make no mistake about it. No matter how awesome everything is, peaches and cream and roses, and everybody's walking around, in a very jovial mood, I would say, because the team wind up beating a team that most people thought was a playoff team and a team that has a winning record and all the kinds of. Somebody has to answer for that. And in my honest opinion, it has to be Duke Tobin. That's just my opinion. I think Duke Tobin in this front office has to answer for a lot of the shortcomings, because I think it's very evident that there is a talent gap at certain spots on this team. And I think it's very evident that those same talent gaps that we are talking about now are the same talent gaps that we were talking about during the offseason. So what that tells me is, they didn't listen to what everybody else was saying. They didn't listen to the fact that people were saying, you need to try and upgrade the guard position. When people were screaming on the table and say, Bengals, draft Cooper Beebe if he's sitting there in the 3rd round or this, whatever the case may be. They didn't do that, right? They decided to say, hey, we're going to continue to roll with Cordell Volson. We believe in Cordell Volson. Well, that same Cordell Volson that you quote unquote say you believed in, you benched for Cody Ford. That's what you did. Everybody was telling you, address the guard position. Everybody was telling you, add a veteran cornerback, but you thought you were smarter than the average bench. So you're shocked now by the results that you're getting. Everyone was saying, who was the other pass rusher opposite of Trey Hendrickson? You said Sam Hubbard, and we said Sam Hubbard hasn't been productive in that area for 2 seasons now. You blamed it on injury. And now you're shocked that you have the results that you have? What are we talking about here? So to me, I think that this Bengals front office, for anybody gets fired, they have to look at themselves in the mirror and they have to say, okay, number one, who the fuck is in charge? Respectfully, who's in charge? Who's calling those shots? Number two, how can we get this ship corrected? The same thing that I'm talking about when I said, when you asked Zach, you asked Lou. I think Dan Pitcher's done a great job, so I can't even put him in this conversation. But the same conversations you're having about Zach, Lou, Darren Simmons, whoever, you have to ask yourself about members of the front office. You can't say, well, Duke is like family, so he's not going anywhere. Although that probably is going to be the response. What I will say is, Bengals, you have no one to blame but yourselves for being in this situation, because the results that we have seen, a lot of people are foretold it.
But let me ask you this, though.
Mm-hmm.
How responsible do you feel like Duke Tobin is for the draft?
Extremely.
So if we're judging off of that, let's just go through this real quick. 2000, because I think this is the first time I don't agree. I think it's very simple. I don't think that you would. I don't think it has to be drastic like that. Let's just go over this. Miles Murphy, pick number 28. You took what you thought maybe was the best available on the board. DJ Turner probably ended up being like the best corner on the team, like once Dax Hill went down. Okay. So then Jordan Battle, I feel like Lou should have played him earlier. I think Jordan Battle's a guy. I think after that, you had Charlie Jones. He'll be like a wide receiver 4 or 5. That might be your one miss, right? Then after that, pick number 163, you pick Chase Brown. Then pick number 206, you pick Andre Yoshivas. You see what I'm saying? And then after that, he hits a dud with Robbins. But then after that, pick number 246, DJ Ivy.
Okay. You're cooking right now.
He kind of cooking right now.
Like, you're cooking right now. Let me go a little deeper into what I mean. Your job as de facto GM, director of player personnel, because if we're talking about director of player personnel, right, Duke and his staff, as Zach always talks about, and their scouts and all that stuff like that, you should excel at the draft. There was a point in time where Duke and company were missing on draft picks and missing at an alarming rate. I'll give them the draft. I'm talking about the overall operation. I'm talking about making those calls, trying to get better, right? When your star cornerback does, I don't want to say a star, when your starting cornerback goes down, making those calls, trying to get better, because that's what teams do. You show this year the phone does work. You traded a 7th round pick for Khalil Herbert, who really didn't see any significant snaps. Again, that's also on Zach. That's also on Dan. That guy wasn't really seeing those snaps. And guess what? Now you're in a situation in which you need him potentially, right? And I guess the same could be said about a Jermaine Burton, right? The same could be said about Lou and not playing Cedric Johnson, or not playing Jordan Battle, or not playing Miles Murphy. Whatever the case, I can understand that completely. It's all been reactionary. For me, though, I think the job of a general manager is realizing you have holes, deficiencies on your team, right? And not just approaching it well. My job is to approach it at the combine, at the draft players, sign a free agent here or two, and then packing it in until next offseason. And sometimes I feel like that's the mentality there, because there seems to be no effort to try. You lost Cam Sample. What did you do to get better?
Yep. You traded Joe Mixon and saved $1.8 million and then didn't replace him with anybody. You did that with Zach Moss, but then when Zach Moss got hurt, they told our fans you need to save money, so they made Joe Mixon take a pay cut. So he did that. Then after that, they just traded him all to a team that saw way more value in him, right? So they give him a big contract. That has nothing to do with the Bengals, but the Bengals get a 7th round pick for it, and they save $1.8 million in a running back room, to me, where they could have had Joe Mixon and Chase Brown. You could argue, well, does that stunt the growth of Chase Brown? I don't think so. I think that they would have did it like how they did Zach Moss, and they would have transitioned until we got about week 5, week 6. You would have said Chase Brown's better. Joe Mixon is the workhorse running back that gets the tough yardage, but Chase Brown's our home run hitter, and that's our main guy. They didn't take that money and spend it on anything. They didn't get the Jamar Chase deal done. They didn't spend the money on anything. So on that part, I do agree. But kind of like the Lou Anarumo conversation that I think that you kind of open up, the wheelhouse on, there's a lot of unknowns with that, right? And I feel like the Bengals front office, because they stay so tight-lipped, they don't open their books to anybody. I think there's a lot of people that are working that are supposed to do those things that don't. And I don't know if that's Duke Tobin. It could be Duke Tobin that they're like, yeah, Duke, you be like, I know Mike Potts. I know,
Well, Zim, that's part of the issue, right? And we're agreeing right now, brother. Like, that's part of the issue. This operation, this incognito, this conspicuous way of thinking of, ooh, you don't know who the general manager is. It's like Wicked. I feel like we're walking down, we're trying to figure out who Oz is, and then we reveal and we're like, holy shit, you're not who we think you are. Like, that's the way the Bengals are. We have this whole image. Mike Brown is to blame. No, Katie's to blame. No, Elizabeth is to blame. No, Duke is to blame. No, Zach. No, Lewis to blame. Bro, I don't know if it's a way of operating in fear. Just like Mike Brown, in my opinion, operated in fear when he didn't want to roll out the Ring of Honor for players because he was afraid of making a player feel a kind of way because, he didn't want to put one in over the other. Bro, give somebody the fucking general manager title. Let them be the general manager. Let them give them response. Say, hey, listen, this is how much cap you have. Don't go over the cap limit. Here's what we're going to allow you to do. Here's what we're not going to allow you to do. Don't go with this same old tired ass approach, right? Of like, Duke Tobin is the de facto general manager in Cincinnati. So he doesn't take any interviews because he's basically the general manager in Cincinnati. What? But guess what? There's no one to point blame to. There's no one to look to. We don't even know who to credit for half of these signings. We don't even know who are we even saying? Guess what? The Colts just shat the bed. The Colts just shat the bed in a major way. You know what Colts fans are saying on the timeline right now? Fire Chris Ballard. Because Chris Ballard is the general manager. Chris Ballard was the guy that said, hey, we're going to draft Anthony Richardson. Guess what? We're looking at Chris Ballard because Chris Ballard has been the guy that has traded for picks. Chris Ballard said he was on the phone. He was the guy that was able to get Phillip Rivers to Indianapolis. He was involved with so many things. I remember a couple of years ago when people were saying Chris Ballard is a great general manager. I'm not even saying you have to fire Duke Tobin, but do me a favor, Cincinnati. Give somebody the damn general manager title and allow them, because guess what? Maybe, hear me out. I run a business. If one of my employees, the responsibility is this, and that, right? And things aren't getting done. I'm looking at it and I'm saying, maybe you're stretching your arms too thin, right? So maybe I need to allow you to focus on what you're really good at, and I'll bring somebody in or promote somebody up to be that said role or whatever that is that I'm looking for. Because that could be just as simple as that. It could be just as simple as that. Give somebody the general manager title. Let Duke Tobin do what he's been doing, being the guy that speaks to us about some of these draft prospects, or give him the general manager title. Give him the general manager title and give Trey Brown director of player personnel. You already say Duke's the de facto GM, but you know what I think? I think the Bengals want it that way for whatever reason. I don't know why. I don't know why they want this weird, you don't know who to speak about. You don't know any of that. You don't even know who's calling shots. So you got people who don't even know the Bengals. But guess what they all say? Oh, Mike Brown's cheap. That's the narrative in Cincinnati. Mike Brown's cheap. Oh, he doesn't pay anybody. Oh, the way you hurt the families by their pocket, their books. We don't even know if dude's even in charge of the day-to-day operations. From our understanding, Katie, right, and Elizabeth have been people that have been stepping up in such a major way. We don't know what Mike Brown's role is on a day-to-day side of things. We don't know if he's just the person that's signing off on checks. What I'm saying is this speaks to a bigger issue, and it's not just me saying, getting on a mic, oh, I'm angry, Bengals, sign somebody, make them general manager. No, it's about changing your entire mentality, your entire thought process about the way that you operate, right? Place phone call. Listen, being what a functioning, winning organization does, a team that's trying to win championship, is they leave no stone unturned. You can hate the purple people, as Zim calls them. You can hate the Baltimore Ravens all you want. One thing that franchise is going to do is make phone calls and try to find a way to get better every single week out of the year. Right. Not just a sometimes thing. Every single week out of the year, they're going to make trades. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to try to move up in the draft to get a guy that they really want. They're not going to hope and pray and say, you know what? We got 7 picks. Of course, that guy's going to fall to us. Even if that guy doesn't fall to us, somebody's going to fall to us because we kind of like him. That's not what winning teams do. That is how you slam the door shut on a championship window. So my thought process is here. Guess what, Bengals? Get out of your own way. If we're talking about the Bengals changing over new leaves, like Joe Burrow even said, a lot has to change this offseason. What does that look like? Who knows? But one thing we can all agree is they can't keep doing the same old BS they have been doing.
Right. And I guess all right. So I don't know if giving someone a title changes the overall operations. Like they could come out today and say Duke Tobin is the general manager. I don't think that changes the way that they do contracts. I don't think that changes the fact that the family that was handed a team. I think it's way deeper, way bigger than Duke Tobin. So one of the things that's going to happen is like, and this is the same thing that happens when you fire a coach. It sounds like for what I do for a living, I fire people sometimes and I hate it. I think it's one of the worst things I've ever done, right? And when I fire someone, it's because generally they'll kind of fire themselves, they'll kind of weed themselves out or whatever, but the writing will kind of be on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
It's really tricky when the writing isn't on the wall because right now you have a top 3 offense, a quarterback that likes the coach. It's not really writing on the wall, so to speak. For me, it is. To me, it's like I know that there's another guy, there's another voice, but it's not clear cut. Like let's fire him, right? And the general manager conversation, I think it could later on it could cut down and give people to act quick, but I don't think it changes the overall. The bigger issue with the Bengals to me is that overall the family doesn't have a network. They don't really communicate with other teams. They're not part of the Billionaire Boys Club. That is the ownership groups.
You know who they operate like though?
They don't have other. Hold on real quick. They don't have other owner. They don't have other sources of income that give them like real funding. They need a private investor. There are other things to me that have like nothing. Because I feel like Duke. And the only reason I brought up the draft is because the last 2 drafts, I feel like he cooked. And there are drafts that he did before. Like there's other people involved with this. They do. But I think the most important part about the firing thing and how I'm going to tie this whole thing in is this. You're witnessing the quarterback that is, I think, is the best quarterback in football. I don't even really think it's as close as people think it is. I watched Josh Allen like do stuff that like I'm watching these games. I just don't think that they're better than Joe. I don't think nobody processes better than him. Nobody's as accurate. So the issue is like, say you fire somebody, say you fire a coach, say you fire Duke, say you fire somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Does that compromise the urgency level of Joe Burrow in this moment that we're in, where he's probably about 1 year away from his prime?
Yeah.
And so if you fire somebody, a lot of stuff has to change. So when you talk about culture change, a lot of different things change, like on that level, Duke and higher, there's things that have to change, and you're in the middle of trying to sign Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. You got a Trey Hendrickson situation. I just don't know if that higher up right now is the time, in my opinion. To me, it would be the coach and a couple of changes from the coach's standpoint, like run game coordination, offensive line coach, look at the defense, see what are you doing with Lou. Are you getting a young energetic D coordinator like Robert Saleh or somebody like that and saying I'm gonna go with young talent and I go crazy, and am I changing the coach? Because to me, Dan Pitcher and the playbooks and all these different things that they had, you could move forward with that in the players and still have a top 3 unit. If you say I'm changing Tobin and stuff, I just don't know Burrow and them, or like just even higher up. It's a 3-year window that I feel like the Bengals are about to open right back up. The window closed when Burrow hurt his wrist. This 3-year new window is probably opening up. Anything that's volatile or anything around it that involves time, I'm not interested in time.
So
I want urgency of right now. And if you're changing higher up now I don't want to change. I want to add. So I want to add scouts. I want to add resources. I want to add funding. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not calling for anyone's job. Let me just say this real quick. I ain't calling for anybody's job.
No,
I'm
not saying that you were. You were saying GM title.
Yeah.
Have somebody
I'm more so asking for transparency. For me, the Bengals operate like the Corleone crime family. Hear me out for a second. They operate like the Corleone crime family. If you remember when if you ever seen Godfather, when Vito Corleone passed away, nobody knew who was actually in charge of the Corleone family. And no one knew it was Mike. Mike was the least expected person to be in charge of the Corleone crime family. I'm not saying the Bengals are a crime family. I'm saying they operate that way, where you don't know who's in charge. But transparency is huge. Godfather 2, you got transparency. You realize, oh shit, Mike's in charge. What I'm saying is the Bengals, in my thought process, there should be a bit of transparency with this team. You shouldn't hear from the de facto GM once a year and it only be at the, at the podium at the combine, or when you sign your first round draft pick and he says a few words and then you give it to the coach and then you go from there. For me, because Zach then has to answer those questions. Zach has to answer those questions as to why the organization isn't being aggressive at the trade deadline. Zach has to answer those questions why the Bengals approached Jamar Chase and said, hey, we're going to give you a contract extension, and then chose not to go through with it for whatever reason, because it came down to guarantees, whatever it be. Zach has to answer those questions about T. Higgins' future. Zach has to answer those questions about Trey Hendrickson asking for a trade. It needs to be transparency, and I hope the Bengals see that, because it puts Zach in a poor situation, because now he's PR managing. He's doing part of your coach is obviously PR, but that shit that he's not sitting at the table negotiating these deals for a Trey Hendrickson, for a Jamar Chase, for a T. Higgins. But you know what is happening? Players are holding in. Players are pissed off, and it's very evident. And now he has to deal with said locker room, said team. And then he has to deal with those said questions and the distractions that come in to a season that was as pivotal as the one right here. So for me, I think transparency could go a long way with the Bengals organization. Hell, you say screw the general manager title? Fine by me. Well, transparency.
Well, I don't know. I'm not saying screw it.
No, not you. But just,
yeah. Okay. I just, for me, like this is the crazy thing. This is the optimist mind state that I have or how I think about the Bengals. I guess this is my homework card. If the Bengals got into the playoffs right now, I think we would beat the dog shit out of all those teams, probably except maybe the Ravens. I think that they would beat the shit out of like all of those teams outside of the Ravens, be a close game with the Chiefs. I think we take them out. So think about that. So all the problems that everyone could say about this team, if you just give Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase a chance, even with a coach that I don't even believe in, I'm like, I could probably go right back to the Super Bowl. I think that this team is better offensively than it was in 2021. 2021, Agreed. It was wildly inconsistent. And if you look at the last 4 or 5 games on defense, it reminds me a lot of the 2021 season. It's not a top 10 defense. It's a defense. Remember, the Broncos only had 10 points with 5 minutes left in the game. Like they damn near almost pitched a shutout, got a touchdown call on the end where the ball was bobbled. The deep ball, I thought that one was bobbled, but he got cooked. Let's just call that 7. But the other one, the game time one that sent into overtime and all that, I don't know. Like I Broncos, they told me all this time that Bo Nix was him. He was one of the stars. After the Bengals beat him, they like, oh yeah, Bo Nix ain't shit.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. Like so, that's what they do to the Bengals. That's what they did in 2021 as well too. The defense is the amount of players that they had. They don't have the horses. Like people gotta wake up. Like they don't have I saw a bum Browns team today only get in there, only even keep it somewhat competitive because they have a Myles Garrett and they have like guys like Delpit was running around and did like that, bro. They got real players. Denzel Ward checks out of the game early, and that might be the worst team in football. But even that defense has some pieces on there that if the Bengals just had one of those, I think that we probably win 2 more games at least just off that. But the Bengals just don't have superstar players. And so like my expectations for the defense just aren't as high, but I do expect them to make plays. And I think they're built to have a lead. And when they get a lead, then they force teams to throw. And that's what Geno Stone and company come in. It's all part of Lou's system. But if they don't have a lead and it's 10-10, you can't come to me later on and be like, yeah, the defense sold at the end because the Bengals are built. The money is all spent. They have the highest paid quarterback in football. You shouldn't have 10 points going into the fourth quarter. Like you got to have 17, 20 minimum. That's what the Bills and all the big dogs would do. So that's unacceptable from the offense for me. Now you could say, well, they were driving, they were doing really good. Bro, they got stopped twice on 4th down. They had a fumble in a big spot. They had other things that didn't happen. I thought that Joe Burrow was phenomenal. I thought that the offensive line, when Mims went out, they failed him. And I understand there's different things that go along with that, but the Bengals and the money is spent right there. So that has to carry them. Trey and guys, somebody said Trey gotta he gotta give me one of them big sacks in those games like that. What big game outside of the Chiefs game this season did he show up in a big game against a rival opponent or a big matchup? Somebody in the chat tell me what game was that. And this isn't a knock Trey thing, but I know Myles Garrett and Crosby and them dudes, they be showing up. And Trey be getting it. He gets pressures and stuff like that too. And he's good. But this Bengals team is really built off of the offense, whether you like it or not. And Lou is just the guy that says, look, y'all give me a lead, Joe. I'm going to cook these boys up. If you don't really give them a lead, that bend don't break stuff. Bro, they're running out there with you know what I'm saying? You just talked about McKinley Jackson. And if an op came in here right now and said, yeah, bro, we got these young dudes, McKinley Jackson and Chris Jacobs, I'll be like, yeah, so who gives a shit? I got Jamar Chase. You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, so what? Those aren't proven guys. Our fans got to kind of wake up to that part. Is those guys are making their way into the league. DJ Turner's of the word. They're all making their way into the league. And you got to build it up, and you got the draft and stuff like that. I wish that the Bengals would give us way more resources. They don't have to go in and do a Von Miller deal, but they do need to say, instead of in every circumstance that we bring in a Sheldon Rankins, we're going to bring a backup Sheldon Rankins in that. Every instance that we bring a Geno Stone, we're going to have a backup to that, because we don't have a Myles Garrett level. And to me, that would be supplementing each position so that you don't really drop off. Like Chase Brown, Zach Moss. Once Zach Moss got hurt, they just went 7 weeks with one running back. Imagine if Chase Brown would have got hurt in that standpoint. You wouldn't have had a legit running back that you could even hand the ball off to. Right. To me, those are the smaller things that I don't know if Duke Tobin is responsible for that. To your point, if there was more transparency, I think we would get those answers.
Right. So let me ask you a question. And we appreciate y'all being here too. This is our second to last one, man, for the season, man. It's been we kind of started this journey a little late, and I think me and Zim are going to definitely continue this, and we're going to try to find more ways to do more stuff. Maybe we'll try to include Ace stuff like that for next year, and just try to be more inclusive. Try to give you guys a different.
Come on over to Wincy.
I got no problem with that. I got no problem with that anytime, bro. I'm waiting for the invite. But no, we appreciate y'all that y'all have made this a part of your daily routine. Obviously, we weren't live extremely after the game, but we want to really let these games settle to kind of get a feel for what we needed to happen the rest of the way. But I got to ask you a question, Zim. What would you do? Right? Let's put you on. You're Zim Brown or Zim Blackburn. Here we go.
Zim Tobin.
Zim Tobin. Well, are you in charge? We don't know if you're in charge or not.
We don't know. It depends on what you ask me. I might be like,
right. Zim Corleone. But no, but what would you do? The season ends. Let's say the Bengals beat the Steelers or the Bengals lose Steelers, whatever. I don't know if that changes anything for you, but what would you do? You're the ultimate decision maker when it comes to this coaching staff, when it comes to things. What do you do?
The things, this is the crazy, the things that I would do. It's not that crazy to me. I don't need a big overhaul. I think I want to open up a brand new window with some of the same cast members. I just think that I want to better the roster. So I'm attacking the roster first. I don't think that the roster is that good. So I you know what I mean? The things that I don't think that I could control, I can't control Mike Brown and the owners and the powers that be that are there. That's going to be there. I would bring in an investment group to help. That would be number one, though. Gives up no control. You saw that just happen. I think it was 3 weeks ago. Who was that sold their equity share or something like that? And somebody in the comments. Who?
I didn't see. I didn't see that.
You got somebody sold. Somebody in the comments tell me it was 1% or something like that. Everybody's doing it. It's the new wave.
Yeah. So, I did see that. That was definitely opened up, and people were saying the Bengals would be prime.
Need to do the same thing. I can't think of who it was. So that would be my first move. Secure the funding. Make sure the funding's correct. I would then go and I would move on from Lou, and I would move on from Zach.
Said Philly. Somebody said Philly.
Philly, yeah, Philly did it. Yep, that's who it was. I would move on from Lou, and I would bring in a Robert Saleh. I would get young, super energetic, and have a whole bunch of young dudes just flying around. Like, I would have a guy that's way more hands-on. I think Lou is so seasoned up, and Lou is so good at like talking to like the guys and saying that this is what works. And when you have Eli Apples and all those guys in there that he knows what to bring out of them, I think it works. But for this new core that's about to come into this team, I think they're going to be very young. And you're going to have to, you need somebody that's going to be super hands-on. And Lou will be fine. Lou will get another job and Lou will cook somewhere else, right? But I would go do that. I would move on from the head coach. I would do that too. I know that Joe Brady might want some control. We were riding the Bill Belichick wave for a second. I'm gonna tell you, man, I got some cut-ups of Joe Brady simplifying an offense and just like, bro, if they did that for Joe Burrow and gave him a competent run game, like the way that they used Cook in Buffalo and did that for Chase Brown, Joe Burrow might not throw for 5,000 yards, but I promise you he wouldn't get touched. The only way to really stop and make sure that Joe Burrow doesn't get hit, or y'all going to be saying this every single week. Case in point, remember the game yesterday? He gets sacked 7 times. But go back and watch these sacks. There are failures to the offensive line, but Joe Burrow's ideology on sacks is very different. When he steps up into the pocket, a lot of quarterbacks throw it away, but you put the ball in harm's way. He's always trying to extend the play. All of those sacks, those 7 sacks, only were a total of 28 yards lost, which is kind of rare for sacks because he's stepping up, moving, and getting up in the pocket, taking those sacks. You're always going to get Joe Burrow sacked. The way that he plays football, I think people need to understand that's just the way he's going to play. And if you're dropping back 30-something plus times, he's going to get sacked. But I will go into the draft. I will go get the kid Ratledge from Georgia in the second round. That would be my only offensive pick that I would do early in this draft. This would be a complete overhaul of an infusion of defense. And the way that I do it is by signing T. Higgins, signing Jamar Chase so that I don't have to go to the draft. I don't have to go to free agency. I already got wide receiver 3, 4, and 5 already on the roster. The only thing that I would need to do, I guess, is go to re-sign Gesicki for a year or two, go back to Mike Hilton's, get a year or two. I'm cutting Moss. I'm cutting Rankins. I'm cutting Kappa, and I'm cutting Sam Hubbard. That alone would free up over $90 million in cap space. The Jamar Chase cap hit that everybody keeps on talking about, like the Bengals won't be able to sign wide receivers. They've already picked up his 5th-year option. His 5th-year option is already at $21 million as a cap hit. Once you give him a signing bonus up front, all of that, he's eating that money up front. The cap hit might go down from the first year 1 and year 2, depending on the amount of that signing bonus. So I got to keep up with that part. Right. So the $90 million that I'm saying, you really would have that, and you might have more if you sign Jamar Chase. So then he goes to his boy, he gets T. Higgins, and he says, yeah, I want to get T. Higgins here too. Bengals say, yeah, well, we only think he's worth 24, 25. Of course, we're looking like, what, bro? I think, well, I'm speaking for myself. I think he's worth more than that. Jamar says, yeah, I think he's worth 28, and I want it for 3 years. And the Bengals like, what you mean? He said, bro, I just want a triple crown. I want $40 million. The only way I won't do it is if you give my boy 2.5. You said he's worth 24, 25 million. Give him 28 million, and I'll cut my salary down to 37.5. That will still make me the highest paid wide receiver in the National Football League. The Bengals could say no. He'd say, yeah, well, I want 40. They could say, yeah. And he could say, yeah. Well, once you sign T, because I don't trust y'all because of that funny stuff y'all did last season, sign T to 28, 3 years. When that's done, I'll sign to 37.5. I'll be the highest paid wide receiver. You think that would, and I'm telling y'all, the cap hits and everything that are already in there, Bengals already just came off a season with a $24 million cap hit with T. Higgins. That's nothing. They're going to save money by extending T. Higgins. Right. You will have enough money to go sign a real defensive player in free agency. I want Mufanga. Some people want Holland. Some people want Million Williams. You'll have money to go sign a real guy. And the resources that you've done by signing those guys on offense, you'll be able to go crazy in the draft on defense.
Yep.
So defense wins championship guy gets all the work. The only position that the Bengals should be looking at in the draft is guard and tight end, and that's it. There's nothing else that and you're only doing that to supplement the Eric All injury because you're going to sign. You do little small signings like can't celebrate here and take $8 million a year. At worst, if you fall off a cliff, you're still the best CB3. You don't have anybody else to really pay. You go to Trey Hendrickson and say, hey, look, you want to get an extension for a year or two? You're 31 years old. He could say, no, I'll trade him for a second-round pick right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll send him to the NFC. If he says, yeah, then let's ball. Give him that money up front. Give him some more cash, $20 million or something like that. Get Trey out the way, and then done. I mean, bro, like, it's not that hard. And I really feel like if they just had a coach that start them off good at the beginning of the season, we wouldn't be having these conversations in this whole everything must go. Everybody must. I don't think that. I watched this same team in 2021 get way better in 2022. Mm-hmm. In 2022, I thought that the Bengals were the best team in football for a big portion of the season. And they just fell short with the offensive line play. I don't know why I lost your video right here, but I thought they fell short.
I'm still here. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Just trying to figure that part out right now.
I thought they lost a little bit of the offensive line in the 2022 playoffs. And then 2023, I think they'd be in the same boat they in right now. I think they'd be looking at a possible playoff spot. I think they'd probably be 10-7. They go right back to the playoffs. I don't feel like they're as far off as everybody thinks. And when you watch them play, granted, you might not be high on the Broncos or whatever. I thought that the Bengals, if they didn't make those two decisions on fourth down with the play calling on those, I thought they would have been up 17-3, 21-3 at the worst with a competent head coach at the beginning of that game. I thought that they should have blown the Broncos out. Every single drive that they had was productive. I thought they should have blew them out. And that's all I feel.
I agree. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. And we're working to get myself back right now. But 100%. I when I look at it, I think that there are some critical decisions to come up. I believe in Lou as a defense coordinator. I think that a lot of what he's shown, and I also think that I don't know. I think Zach is going to be loyal to his guy as well. A lot like similar how he was loyal to Jim Turner. And you got to just ask yourself, how does the front office view it? Does the front office view Lou as a guy that they think can get the ship corrected if they do everything in their power to get this defense started to turn around, get better talent in the building, the whole 9 yards? Are they willing to go where they need to go to further this defense? That's going to be the question at hand. Are they willing to allocate the resources that it's going to take to fix this unit? That's going to be the big telltale, man. And I
think so. I think Burrow, and you remember those games where Burrow walked out of there as soon as the game was over? What was that when we lost to Pittsburgh? Remember him and Zach went into a room with Lou? Mm-hmm. Remember that game?
Yep.
I think Burrow, when he says changes have to be made, and then some of the stuff that you get from Chase, after the game, I think it's very clear that they feel like they got it controlled on offense. And I think Burrow and company, I think he's going to say go all in on defense because I need that.
Yeah. So now when you say go all on defense, do you think that means Lou is here? I know what you said you would do. What do you think, though?
I don't know, man. The last couple of weeks have probably sold the front office back on Lou. I know a lot of people will say, well, look who they're playing. I don't really care about who they were playing. I think bad defenses get exposed no matter what. Mm-hmm. I really do. I think that when the Bengals have a lead with that roster, they're scary. I think their defense is really good when they have a lead. I don't think that any offense. I mean, come on, bro. If the defense was as bad as everybody said it was, and it was bad in a lot of games, like the Commanders game, it was really bad. But I've talked about this plenty of times. If it was that bad, why did it give Pat Mahomes the worst game he's ever had? I feel like that's part of Lou, right? Why did Derrick Henry fail to run for over 40 yards in both of those games through 4 quarters? If it's really that bad, The only running backs that went over 100 with us was what, Saquon and the kid Dottle, which I felt we had real control of that. And then the week one, I don't know. I guess my outlook on some of the stuff, the defense to me just doesn't have enough players. I don't really think that it's a Lou thing, but I do think Lou not playing those young dudes
hurt.
It hurt a lot in the way that they have to go over and win and get this back, like what the Rams have done with the Bucks. I'm watching Kalijah Kancey and all that stuff, is get an infusion. Look at the Broncos. I mean, they're leading the league in sacks. You get an infusion of young talent, couple vets there, which you already have, and then you just fly around to the ball and everybody's moving aggressively, and maybe you lose some spots or whatever, like you lose some big plays like here and there or whatever, but that's just the way I think that they should play. And when they get a lead, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just think that Lou has shown he's not willing to play those young dudes like that, and he's not willing to take those young dudes and give them those opportunities. And I don't think that the Bengals can go chance free agency on defense. I really don't. I think that if they're going to go get a defensive guy, I will, there's some guys that I like, but those guys are very active, fast playing, aggressive players. Like the Geno Stones of the world that are, let me get interception to play into my quadrant of my zone. I'm not really interested in those type of players. I want Jordan Battles, like flying all over the place.
Right.
Like I would be playing meta right now, probably more than ADG, because I'm thinking ADG probably won't even be on the roster if I'm Lou. He's still not playing them. Miles Murphy, you know what I'm saying? Like that took a while. And, I don't know. Like the new way and the best way to solve this is to add guys like how you wanted Jared Verse and all that. But them dudes got to play. And they got to play. And the reason why they got to play week 1 is so by the time you get to week 14, you're not trying to figure out, is this a guy?
Right.
You don't want to, like, the Bengals are a playoff contending type of team, championship level team based off of their quarterback and their wide receivers. You don't want to get to the end of the season and be trying to figure out, can I play this guy? Like, I would have already ironed that out. I already ironed out so many different issues earlier on with CTB where he got benched, right? You know, you want that to happen early on. Like, if young dudes get cooked at the beginning of the season, maybe sit them out for a series or two where we're coming back. Joe Burrow's cooking. We might have some of those games early in the season. By the time we get to week 7, 8, 9, CB2, CB4 has already seen a Devontae Adams, already seen one of the better wide receivers. I don't have to wonder what are they going to do later on. And I just think that was a big fault of this whole Lou, Zach, not Burton early. Like Burton should have been returning kicks week 1.
Yeah.
Get them comfortable holding a football in the NFL. That's a big thing for I can imagine for a young kid. Like all of these players like that. Tanner McLaughlin got his first active a week ago. Like I can't see what he looks like.
Right.
Over Tanner Hudson, just a
and
couple.
We still don't really even see him in there.
Cedric Johnson balling out last couple of weeks. I can't see him against the Ravens early in the season when I needed you. Still is like that's the dangers. And I remember when the Chiefs, and I hate using them as an example, but when they got all those young corners and they got all those dudes, they played them. They played them right away. Brian, the kid from Cincy or whatever, Brian, the safety or whatever, they played him.
Brian Cook, yeah.
Brian Cook, they played all them dudes early. The other kid from the HBCU, the dude that we cooked at the end, Daryl Williams and all them dudes, all the corners, they play all of them. You got to play them dudes early because you need to get them battle tested. So by the time you get to the end of the season, you're not wondering. Like, think about Fig Newton had he been playing the whole season, even in a limited role. And look how good he's looked. You know what I mean? Like, so I just think that that's a big part of it. I think the Bengals use the money aspect of a Sam Hubbard, money aspect of a lot of these guys to the detriment of their team and said that because this guy gets paid more, we're going to play this guy more. And I hate that. And that's not the way that football is supposed to be played.
You gotta play your young players, obviously, to know what you have. And like I said, regardless, I think that we're in for one for this offseason. Is going to be a lot of change. How deep does the change go? We're going to figure that out. But obviously the season hasn't been what we expected to be, but it is good to see winning football in Cincinnati. The one thing I will say moving forward is, this Pittsburgh Steelers game, you're still in evaluation mode. You're still in evaluation mode of the coaches, of the players, and see how this thing's going to look. Regardless of I don't care if the Bengals make the playoffs or not. You're still in evaluation mode. You're trying to figure out who are the pieces that we can rely on. Joe Burrow said this a couple of weeks ago. He said, the next couple of weeks are going to determine who we can rely on for the long haul. And for, truer words could not have been more spoken, if you will. I still think everybody's in evaluation mode for the most part.
Yeah,
it's good to see the players fight the way they fought. It's good to see the T. Higgins bounce back after missing 4 games. Look what he has been cooking, right? And
bro might hit 1,000. Even
right.
It was really 5, really.
It was like 5 games. Yeah, and they got
Did you know Joe Burrow too? This is another thing. You saw my evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
How about I'm gonna evaluate the Steelers secondary next week, where Dante Jackson is ranked 132 out of all PFF cornerbacks in the National Football League. Cam Sutton is ranked at 128. I'm gonna evaluate 359 on their head, and I'm gonna get Joe Burrow to 5,000 yards. How's that for evaluation?
Yeah, because
I think we're gonna get a triple crown.
100%. Jamar Chase is gonna get triple crown. And how about this? I don't know if you remember, Mike Gesicki is 3 yards away from a 600-yard receiving season.
I didn't know that.
Mike Gesicki is 3 yards away from a 600-yard season.
They got to bring him back.
Would
you bring back Mike Hilton?
Yes, on a 1-year deal. Because the reason why I would do 1 year is because these players have a weird way of falling off a cliff really, really bad. Like was this his last productive year like this? Or, I don't know.
Bro,
I'm doing a 1 year.
His blitzing.
So good.
So good. I don't know if I've ever seen somebody blitz and hit at the rate that he hits. If it's a run,
he's decisive. If Geno Stone played with even a hint of decisiveness like Mike Hilton has, obviously different positions, we'd probably be looking at him different, because Geno Stone usually is around. If you ever realize, he's always around the ball, but when you watch the film, it's the hesitation for him. He's indecisive about it. So he typically makes his decision too late. But if he just trusts his instincts and trusts his eyes, like he was doing the last couple of weeks, he usually hits. He usually hits. Because he has to be decisive, because he doesn't have the athleticism or the speed, I would say, to make up for some of those plays. But listen to this. This is Mike Gesicki's stats this season. 57 receptions, 597 yards receiving. Get this. Only 2 touchdowns.
Should have had 3, right?
Mike Gesicki is on pace for his 3rd best receiving season in his NFL career. His 3rd best receiving season. He had 2 years in Miami where he had his first year in Miami at 570. No, second year in Miami at 570. And then 703, 780.
703.
Right? But the season that Mike Gesicki has put forth, by the way, Zem, this is his best receiving season from a reception standpoint. I mean, second best receptions season from a reception standpoint. This has been that for Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki is probably on pace he's averaging about 10.5 yards. I think that's per game.
Bro, I think that was his best game this past week.
Oh yeah.
He's had some good games. Particularly, he's been playing like filling in for T. Higgins, so it wasn't as effective. I think he was dynamite in the Chiefs game.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: people forget he wasn't even getting playing time at one point in time. He was being outsnapped.
Yeah,
we were using him like almost like the New England Patriots.
Once Eric All and T. Higgins came back, it was like it kind of took him off the field. But I think Gesicki is smart enough to know that him with Burrow can elongate his career. And I think that he would take a deal that's very friendly.
100%. You see the energy he plays with, the fight he plays with. And the thing I like about Mike Gesicki, that I'm like I said, man, I'm really excited for this because I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm a month older than Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki's only 29 years old. So you sign him to a 2-year deal, get him back here. He has no impact on your tight end position. He has impact on your slot receiver position. He could be that guy, that safety outlet, and he does put fear in defenders. He does.
I love this core. I feel like I'll be the first Bengals fan. I like to jump out in front of any argument that somebody could say. I read a comment. Somebody was like, Zim's delusional, something like whatever. I'll be the first one to tell you the Bengals don't have a Super Bowl. I move and I operate with a urgency that you've never seen because I recognize that. I'll be the first one to tell you. So now that we got that out the way, you know, you ever had that conversation with somebody? They're like, but you ain't win over. So are we going to talk about Super Bowls or are we going to talk about the actual, you know, the players or whatever? I'll be also the first one to say I think that the Bengals window closed when Joe Burrow's wrist got hurt. That Mixon, Boyd combination, everything. But this season was the transition. I think it's a long shot for them to make the playoffs. If they got in the playoffs, I like them against a lot of teams. I don't really like them maybe against the purple people as much because I don't think they could stop Lamar. But I do like them against all the other teams. I really do. I mean, and even in a Lamar game, it's a shootout. Burrow's playing the best I've ever seen him. But I do this new window, I think it's Eric All maybe coming back. You know, maybe he has to whatever. You don't know. 2 ACL, same knee. But Mike Gesicki, I think that those are all part of the core, though, of like, you know, the like Burton. He's got time. You know what I mean? Mims, Orlando Brown. Like that, to me, if you would have asked me before the season, I used to ask this question all the time when I used to go on Spaces. I'd be like, what's the identity of the Bengals? And nobody could say anything. And I always said, well, it's just Joe Burrow and the 2 horses on the outside. It's just Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And I think that they need to get a tight end. I think they need to improve the trenches. I feel like this year, with the emergence of McKinley Jackson, the emergence of Chris Jenkins a little bit, the cornerbacks on the back end where you got Newton and guys like that, I think they're starting to develop an identity that is outside of just Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. But ultimately, that is it, right? But this new window that I think is opening, that's why I get pretty excited about the offseason, is because I feel like the new window, a lot of other teams that I study the competition, they're not in as good a shape as the Bengals are hypothetically going to be in. And I really feel like if Joe Burrow is going to take this season and just build off of it and go on a tear like nobody's ever seen, I think he's figured out every single component of what he wants to do. I think he has some more things that he has to do, but he hasn't entered in his prime. He's one of those rare guys that came into the league older, but he still had more growing to do. And he was a reckless young shiesty getting hit at the goal line by Chase Young and taking shots in the Eagles game and getting sacked 9 times. He had to go through all that. I think he's going to evolve into okay, I got a Gesicki. Okay, check down Chase Brown. You know what I mean? He's getting closer and closer to the Tom Brady stages of his career where now he could work from the middle of his progression and tight ends and then work his way to the outside and moving Jamar Chase around is part of that. Whereas before it was 2020 was throw it down the field, Jamar down there somewhere.
And we went to the Super Bowl with that.
That's crazy. Went to the Super Bowl with that. We're now seeing him now opening up a brand new window with this new core. And I'm telling people like how when I came in, you were talking about Burton. I think Burton's story is going to be so fun. And he might not ever be what I think he's going to be. But I think that him getting thrown into that, like every once in a while, like I watched the Chiefs play, everybody getting a rock. Juju, everybody hooping. Juju got a catch. What's his name? All them other dudes, all them other bums, they all got all of them get the rock. If you telling me Burton getting 3-4 targets a game, and then you got T. Higgins is a possession, like bro, I really think that this offense could be the best in football. I don't know if they could be the best in football with Zach Taylor, but I do feel like they're starting to build something, and the Gesicki part is a real big part of that. Khalil Herbert might be a part of that too, and I just think that the offense is really, really balanced now that Chase Brown is now taking that step further, and I'm excited about what they're going to do. If they got in the playoffs, bro, I'm telling you, I like them over a lot of those teams. I just don't see many teams playing that type of ball right now on offense. I really don't.
That's part of it, right? It becomes down to the hottest team, the healthiest team, right? Who's playing scorching hot as you get into playoffs. But listen, I'm sure we're gonna have a big live next week, man, as we talk everything through. Want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to another recap show. Do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or when we upload content from the TWSN studios. Make sure you guys give Zim a follow, man. It's always a pleasure, man, for us jumping on here, talking Bengals football. One thing's for sure, two things be certain. Week 18 is going to be electric. The Bengals path, Dolphins got to lose to the Jets. Bengals got to beat the Steelers.
Is that crazy to you?
It's not. It's not.
If Tua plays, we're cooked, I think. If he doesn't play,
he's playing.
He's playing.
He's going to play. I thought it was very ballsy of them to sit him out this game. And I understand it was the hip thing. And Tua has had hip stuff in the past. Man, I think that I'm not shocked. I expected the Colts to lose. I was talking to Daniel about this on the phone. I said, I think the Colts are going to lose because the Giants needed a home victory. They hadn't won yet. The NFL is very cinematic in a lot of ways like that, but it's not that crazy, man. I think the Jets could win. I'm just curious, will they start Aaron Rodgers or will they play Tyrod Taylor? I have no idea. I think they can win.
Even if Tua does play, how's that hip? I don't know. You know what I mean? I think a division rival, them coming off of getting their ass whooped. I don't know. I mean, I'm of course I'm more hopeful for the Bengals because I want the Bengals. You know what I mean? But I could see, the Dolphins play like shit. I thought that both teams were shitty today. Yeah, I don't think neither one of them was good. I thought A-Chain was gonna have a way better game than what he did. I thought he couldn't get anything going against that Browns defense.
Oh, and it's in New York.
The Jets defensive line in their front. If A-Chain isn't getting off, I just don't believe in it. And then I can go one-on-one with Sauce and Tyreek. Waddle probably not playing. I don't know. I like the Jets in that game, bro.
So you know what's crazy? I think everybody's going a little too crazy about the Chiefs backups playing against the Broncos. I think the Chiefs, listen, you don't just have a colossal fail like this. The Broncos had every opportunity last 2 weeks they're not
going to smack them, bro. It's a division game. It's not going to go down like that. And I'm going to tell you another thing. Chiefs better not play with that and just put out all backups. Because if you have a first round bye, so you're talking about, you just went through 7 days just now. You about to go another 7 days. So that's 14. Then you got the first round bye. That's 21 days. It would be 28 days that these dudes haven't played, and then you would just say, "Yeah, all right, going out there and go play the team that wants to kick your ass, whoever that is." It might be the Ravens. You ain't played in 28 days, so the Chiefs better be careful not playing those starters. I'm telling you
I
that
hear you
right
on that
now.
because it could be upset special. But I got the Chiefs in that game. I'm calling it now.
I got Chiefs too. I don't care if the back. I think here's a hot take. I think Mahomes and them start off the game, they get a good lead, and then they sit some of them guys like later in the game, or maybe Wentz does play, but you're not going to sit. You're not sitting Hollywood Brown, who just came back. You want to get him into the flow of it, get him real snaps. Imagine if they set Hunt. So what? Pacheco,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Juju's a backup. D-Hop, they're not sitting no D-Hop. Like, what are you talking about? Chris Jones might sit, but how did that go for last week? They had more sacks last week without Chris Jones than they had any other week. I like the Chiefs in that game, bro.
Man, I like the Chiefs too.
I like us against that Steelers secondary too. I think Burrow's gonna go for that 5K, put 400 on them, and that's all she wrote.
Man, I think that I can see the Bengals sneaking in, man. I can see them sneaking in, man. I really can. And it's just crazy that
if Dolphins would have lost today, I would have came on this show and said, "Yeah, we're in, bro. We're in." If they would have lost, I'd have said, "Bro, we're in."
One thing I will say though, I saw a lot of Chiefs fans on Twitter saying, "Oh, y'all need us. Y'all begging y'all need us for your hopes." Marissa, I want you to clip this. Chiefs fans, I know what you are saying, but it's like Candyman. You say his name 3 times in the mirror, he might appear. So I would say, be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you say that you want to happen. If I was the Chiefs, I'd tank. I'd be like, I would personally, I would play my guys, but I'd be like, yo, there's no chance in hell
I'm
we're
letting
allowing
them in.
the Cincinnati Bengals into the playoffs.
I think Mahomes. You ever seen that QB special on Netflix?
Mm-mm.
If somebody can send me the clip of this, please, somebody DM me. I cannot find a clip. Oh, the dog. If somebody could find me this clip, he's on Netflix crashing out when he loses to Burrow.
What?
Bro, he's like, fuck, in the locker room. If somebody could send me that clip, bro, I promise you, I got like an award for you. If you could say that, if you could send me that clip, I need it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, that dude, the Bengals live rent-free in that dude's head. He talked about them and said, man, the better matchup is the Bills. Like, I never watched the show, but people would send me the clips of that stuff that I needed like that. Crash out of the Burrow. And I think he would be like, let him in. Let's play the Bengals because he wants to prove that he could beat the Bengals. I think Pat and Kelsey are not running from 9, bro. I think their fan base is scarred and scared to play them. But I think Mahomes and them, if you go look at the psychology of how he was on there, where he was like, fuck, like the Bengals are a nightmare for him that he has to feel like when he's won multiple championships. He's got to conquer all your demons. Just like if you're scared of heights, you need to go stand on some shit that's real high, right?
Right.
I feel like he looks at the Bengals like that, and their fans might look at us like we ain't shit because we ain't got no bowls, but Mahomes don't look at us like that.
Yeah. I hope that we get the dance. I hope we get the dance. I really do hope we get the dance. If not, we'll see y'all next season. But I'm really
going. Because look, when we just lost 4th and 16, I took my son out there. To this day, he'd be like, I cannot believe that call. I said, bro, if we play them again, we're going back. I told him that this morning. I'm going back to Kansas City for that game.
I'll probably go with you. I'll probably pop out there with you.
Let's go, bro. I need all parts of that game.
I'll probably pop out there with you.
I need all the content. I need all parts of that game. I promise you.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow playing like this, they don't want I've never been this confident about a Bengals offense. Now the defense, hit or miss.
I mean, you might get DJ Turner back by then. You might get DJ Turner back, some reinforcement. No, seriously, they said that he had a chance. He had his chance where he potentially could have returned. They said that.
I'm pretty confident, bro. I respect the hell out of the Chiefs and what they've accomplished. I think there's a bunch of pansies online that talk trash that don't represent real Chiefs fans. I'm talking to the real people that actually like football. I think it'd be good for the sport. And I think that the Bengals will come in there and light shit up, though. I'm telling you that now. Like, I think that they were like, the Ravens defense got way better. I would, if I'm the Bengals, that's the one team I'm like, I don't know. But, they beat us twice. It's hard to beat a team 3 times.
And it's a team in your division, too, and they know you and all that stuff,
The Chiefs thing, though, it's just something there. Pat Mahomes, week 2, worst game in his career. 151 yards, 2 picks. Remember, he had the 3rd pick, but they took it off the board. Worst game in his career when the Bengals defense was nothing like what it is right now. I like my chances in that game. If he's talking about the Bills, Joe Burrow's never lost to Josh Allen. I watched the Bills get smacked up by the Ravens. They don't look good against our division, in my opinion. I feel like the trenches and different things that I feel like their defense gets exposed. The Rams just put 40-something on them. What do you think? Yeah. What do they think Burrow going to do? Burrow's on a heater right now, bro. I'm sorry. Yeah. Like, I'm glazing. Burrow's on a heater. Bro, come on, let's be real. You might say, Zim, you're delusional in the comments. Like, somebody going to say that. But let me ask you this. If you're a real Bengals fan, have you ever seen Joe Burrow look this good before playing football? Ever.
Never. But you know what's crazy? It's going to sound crazy. Watching all his games at LSU from start to finish. And I mean, week to week live watching this, right? On Saturdays. I'm not shocked that he's doing this. I'm genuinely not shocked, though, Zim. Like, it might sound like bullshit. I swear to God on my mom, I'm not shocked that he's doing this. I expected this from him. I think Joe Burrow was the best quarterback that I've ever evaluated. And one thing that I always stood out to me when it came to him was his mentality. And I feel like that's why when you talk about Zach holding him back, I believe it's true. I believe if he had a offensive minded coach that really just if it can even have to be an offensive minded coach, but just coach that just believed him to always put the ball in his hands.
Right.
I think Joe would be heartless, man. If you saw that Joe Burrow at LSU, man, and how he didn't care what they were up, man, they would just keep putting points on it. He didn't give a damn. Like I remember there was one game in particular that I was at. It was Bengals versus Falcons. I want to say 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. He could have broke the record.
He could have broke the record, and
he could have broke the record.
Oh no, he could have broke the NFL passing yardage record that withstood. He was like 30 yards away from it or something like that. I feel like that mentality wise, Joe is a killer, and I think Zach is much more like, yo, let's win the game, let's control the clock, let's do that. But like, I hope, you know, if the Bengals aren't going to move off of Zach, which they're not going to, I hope that at least Joe Burrow can, you know, rub off on Zach a little bit, and Zach will start coaching with a little bit of confidence, because the Zach that was coaching the second half the year they went to the Super Bowl was different from the Zach that was coaching that's been coaching, right? He had a sense of confidence. He put his guys out there. He was not taking the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands, and it's like, bro, trust nine, trust your quarterback, trust who you got back there, because he's the best quarterback you'll ever coach.
It's so easy to criticize anything when you're losing.
Mm-hmm.
I know that nobody wants to lose. I wouldn't say I'm a poor sport. I'm just very competitive. But the one good thing I will say about losing, it allows you to put a magnifying glass on everything. So like, y'all ever realize, like, whenever you win a football game or your team wins a football game, or if you've ever been part of a sport, there are different things that kind of slip between the cracks. You're like, I'll correct that later. But when you lose and you're a real competitor, I feel like those small little details of, like, we could have talked about his choices on both the fourth downs, or I was really like at the end of the game, I was like, why is he scoring so fast? I get the injury timeout, whatever. I would have liked to gone up and maybe try to make a play like on third down. And if I didn't get it, make sure that the ball is caught so that the clock runs down. In both scenarios, I'm giving myself an opportunity to score a touchdown, but I'm only giving them 40-something seconds to come down. And maybe I only kick a field goal, but I'm only giving them 45 seconds to come down there and do so.
Right.
And we could talk about different small details like that. Imagine, but because we won, a lot of people probably aren't talking about it as much. But that's the one thing about losing, is like, we start to look at every single thing. And that's the one thing when we lost a lot this season, I just said, for Joe to be playing this great and we're losing these games, and to be 8-8 is unacceptable. Like, that's where I kind of drew my hard line, where I'm just like, he could never play this good ever again and not make the playoffs. Like, not making the playoffs, you're fired.
It's just crazy to me, because
you're
like,
fired.
like you can never miss the playoffs again. That Joe Burrow should never go in his career and miss the playoffs if we're giving you a competitive roster. The way I see it, man, is you should have a chip on your shoulder going into the offseason, no matter what happens. It's the imagine if they were prepared week 1, were prepared week 2, right? Imagine if they were ready to go, they were locked and loaded, and they were able to flip some of those one-score games. The way that this Bengals team always plays down the stretch, man. This team would be a nightmare to face, right? This team would be an absolute nightmare to face in the postseason, because they always end the season strong, and it's always the slow starts. This is just the year that it caught up to them. It's the year where the slow starts caught up to them. Slow starts caught up to them last year too, and it's crazy how they didn't have the slow starts last year, right? Had they beat the Browns week 1, they're sitting with 10 wins.
Bro, 2022, there are fans of, I used to always think my favorite team was, 2005 and then 2015, right? If you really look at this, everybody in the comment section, tell me about this. Write this after this show is over in the comments of this. Go look at 2022. Go look at the record. Go look at those scores, and look at how dominant they were. And look at every single position group. Tell me where the weakness is. I can show you where the weakness is in 2005. Like, you relied on defense and getting turnovers. There were some holes there, here and there. They didn't get a lot of sacks, whatever. 2015, or I might be mixing it with 2015. Like, there are different things that you could kind of nitpick. 2022, I feel like the only thing that held them back was the offensive line getting hurt in that playoffs. And if they were healthy, I feel like that probably would have been the best Bengals team of all time. And we did that with Zach Taylor. And so I do kind of hold that, and I say, okay, because this is the other thing I was going to say. We started out 0-2, but bro, if you even include, like, don't even include the Hamlin game. Like, what did we lose? We lost 4 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we went on a 10-game win streak. In that, bro, there's a world. If they didn't start off with that Steelers game week 1, and then we had a chance to beat the Cowboys, I think that was week 2. That could have been like a 1-loss team, bro.
Right.
Like that team, the team was crazy, and that wasn't that long ago. Mind you, the 2022 season ended in 2023, so this isn't that long ago.
No,
you know what I'm saying? Like I was there at the game. It was cold as shit. January 2023. I know exactly. I was at Arrowhead, and when we lost and they pulled that BS on us or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? But that wasn't that long ago for people to talk crazy to us. Like, y'all had that 1 year. 2021 was cool, like great Super Bowl. I was there too. 2022, bro, that team is really nice. Go look. And if you're really a historian, you can go back to 88. Go look at those rosters and go look at 2022 and go look at those scores. Like, they were really freaking good.
Right. Man. I think the biggest thing that we could take away from this then is as long as you have Joe Burrow at quarterback, you have a chance. You have a chance. And the important part to remember, and I think we both can agree on this, is the Bengals got to stop getting in their own way. Got to stop with the slow starts. The slow starts have hampered you, and it's the reason why you're sitting where you're sitting right now. What does that look like? How does that play out? We'll find out week 18. Couldn't be any more cinematic finish. If the league was smart, if the league wanted to make some money, let the boys in.
What's the order of the games? We play first?
I think it's still to be determined right now.
Okay. I want to just go ahead and get us out the way real quick. Go ahead and whip up one of them boys real quick, put 40 on them, get them out the way, and then have us sit there and see what these Chiefers are going to do.
Yeah, man.
I think that will be so fun. It'd be like a hate watch party for everybody.
Man. You know, but incredible seasons all around. I'm looking forward to going live with you again next week, brother. If you guys could do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and drop comments in the comment section what you guys think think should happen with this staff, with this team moving forward. We definitely make sure we'll get to them next time we are live. I'll be back live on Tuesday. Like Benjamin Harrison said, we just need to keep cutting on grass, man. Got to keep on cutting on grass, control what we can control, and let's see if the Bengals can wind up with 9 wins, and we'll see how the rest of the cookie crumbles. But Zen, appreciate you, brother. I'm gonna see you back live here next week as we break all things down. Cincinnati Bengals. We'll see you guys. And as always,